It's Wednesday, April 30th. I'm Scott.
I'm Rim.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight,
Escaflowne.
Dun, dun.
Dun, dun.
Let's do this.
So yesterday we talked a bit about how we had Mario Kart Wii and how we were worried about some things. And I would just like to point out, in case anyone says anything, that today, when I got home from work, we started it up and immediately discovered the menu that lets us change everything. So now we now race with no AI and pretty much no catch-up items.
Yup, and even though the single player in Mario Kart Wii is pretty much just a practice to build up your skills combined with the unlocking bullshit.
Everyone said it was annoying rubber band AI, and I'd expected annoying rubber band AI. I was unprepared for how annoying it was.
It's pretty annoying, but basically the single player exists only to build your skills and to also unlock all the bullshit, which should be unlocked from the beginning. And the multiplayer is where the real game is at, and the multiplayer, I must say, is excelente, as long as you change the rules to turn off the bullshit.
Mighty fine.
And I beat Rim. I was using the wheel, and he was using the nunchuck. So that's like if I beat him in a foot race wearing a ball and chain.
Well, maybe, except for the fact that, one, you couldn't beat me in 150cc.
I don't think the wheel can do 150cc.
Yeah. And two, I have played the game maybe 10 minutes total.
See, beating you with the wheel at 150cc would be like beating you in a foot race wearing a ball and chain uphill.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Because downhill, actually, it might be an advantage.
It is. That's what I'm saying. All right. The analogy breaks down, all right? So, you got any other stuff to talk about?
It's Wednesday. It's anime day. As usual, there's not like there's that much
Oh,
anime.
I was gonna watch an anime today.
Oh, because I've been kind of busting your balls about watching anime. You know,
so
us being the #1 anime podcast in the English-speaking world, we kind of gotta get on this and talk about some anime.
So I was gonna watch the Kaze no Yojimbo DVD, even though I watched the first 4 episodes of the show a long time ago.
You know what? I thought that too, and I was like, all right, I'll just skim through the first DVD and then send it back. And then the first episode started, and I didn't remember any of that.
I don't remember anything in the show whatsoever.
You don't remember?
I remember that it's a story about a stranger comes to town.
It's
That's
Fistful of
all
Dollars.
I remember.
It's Fistful of Dollars.
I don't know if Fistful. I know Fistful of Dollars in terms of throwing rock, then paper twice.
I still, you know, that's really all you know?
That's all I know.
Oh, God. Fistful of Dollars is kind of awesome. You should look it up. But anyway, the other thing is I got to look up. I keep forgetting.
I didn't
but
finish what I was saying.
I kind of suspect that the character designer is the same person from Gundam 00.
Well, check it. But anyway, so I was going to watch Kaze no Yojimbo on the train on my laptop, right? I remember to bring my optical drive. I brought the Netflix DVD. I was all set. I forgot I had recently, though, upgraded to the new Hardy Heron Ubuntu, and I had not installed the new DVD playing softwares.
CSS.
So I couldn't play the DVD, and I didn't have an internet connection on the train, and, well, I guess this is tomorrow.
You know, you could have just written some sort of DCSS.
Oh, yes, because I remember the prime number. I have memorized.
You know what would have been funny? What if you'd been wearing the shirt?
If I was wearing the shirt, then yes, I could have done it. But even though, even writing a DCSS, right, I would have had to rip the DVD, run it through the DCSS,
and then
it would have taken my CPU and the laptop not powerful enough to. You would have taken. By the time it was done, I would have been off the train, basically.
Yeah, but it's fun to think about. Plus, what if the train got stuck? 41 hours.
Yeah.
I got to admit, I'm saddened by the fact that the internet has made a million kind of parodies of that guy stuck in an elevator video, and they're all awful. I had the pleasure of watching the first 10 seconds of stuck in an elevator for 41 hours with diarrhea.
Yeah, but anyway.
Someone made that whole video. It's like 10 minutes long.
Yep. But anyway, Scott's Box should be next week. So between now and next week, I'm going to be watching some animes for a week. That should give us some anime shows to do.
Oh, snap.
Oh, snap.
Actually, after we watch some more Kaze no Yojimbo, I think you got to watch some Bokurano.
Yeah, I did. I watched a bunch of it. I just didn't finish it.
Gotta finish it, because can't talk about
I'll
the
finish
show.
it. I was totally liking that show. That's my kind of show.
Well, if you were liking it from what you'd seen, you're gonna like it a lot more. Pretty much right after when you stopped watching.
My only problem with that show is that I have meta knowledge that the manga that it diverges from the manga that I have never read.
You know what? I'll say this. The divergence that we'd heard about was that the person doing the anime wondered if they could get away with killing fewer children.
Yeah.
And
I kind of want to read them. It makes me think, though, that, like, even if the show is great, it makes me really want the manga and think that the manga is better, even though it might not be.
so apparently you're pro children killing.
I'm pro
Children dying.
children killing robot story.
See, the thing is, if the anime was the kind of lightened, less sad, less hardcore version, I can't imagine what's in that manga.
I know,
Because,
right?
Good God, I cried like 4 times throughout the last 5 episodes of Bokurano.
All right, anyway.
I started crying at the end of almost every episode because they kill a kid like every episode.
Good God. Okay. So I'm going to, instead of a news, because there is no news really.
Yeah, there is. There's news that people are probably screaming about the fact that we haven't talked about.
Maybe.
I can do my news quick.
Do you want to do your news first?
I probably should. I don't have a lot to say about it.
All right.
But at the New York Comic Con, there was one kind of important announcement. A lot of people were lamenting the fact that in all the anime industry problems, Gurren Lagann, the TV, was not. It just kind of fell off the licensed truck, and no one had picked it back up. Well,
ADV ran into that problem with that company or whatever, and they lost a bunch of shows, and everything was getting weird.
well, it just so happens that Gurren Lagann has been picked back up
Really?
by Bandai Entertainment.
Oh, see, that's kind of surprising. So that definitely, anime companies so hush-hush, right? But that basically confirms ADV lost the license completely, and Bandai bought it.
I'll admit, I'm sure Dave and Joel are going to cry about this, and Daryl Surratt and all those people, but I have not seen even a second of this show, and while I've heard a lot about it, until now, when I went to the Anime News Network and I see this picture that's obviously from it, I didn't even know what it was about or what it looked like.
I knew it was a robot show by Geeknights, right? It's the Geeknights robot show, right?
It's a robot show, a Gynax.
Right, because there was that other, like, clamp robot show that was pretty recent, and I was getting the two shows confused, because this one's Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann, right?
Yeah.
What was the other one?
I don't even know.
I forget.
It's weird how we watch so much anime, but
Because I didn't watch either one, so...
I don't know how this show slipped under my radar. I just kept having other things to watch and other things to do, and everyone's saying it's great.
Mm-hmm.
We'll probably watch it at some point.
Yeah, we'll definitely watch at some point. I just want to point out, though, that...
That what? You lost your train of thought. It's gone.
I got it.
Okay.
Bandai Entertainment, right? Well, Bandai Entertainment, first of all, is not Bandai Visual. Bandai Visual sucks, right? But actually, I guess this sort of does hold for Bandai Visual, too, in that many things about Bandai Entertainment and Bandai Visual do not please me, right? But over the history of all anime production in the U.S., well, not production, but anime distribution in the U.S., Bandai Entertainment and Bandai Visual, for all their failings, they consistently have the best selection of titles. If you were to pick, if you were to tell me that I could get one free anime series, right? But I had to pick the U.S. distributor and then one of their titles would be given to me for free, I would pick Bandai Entertainment every time because they're the greatest odds of getting a good show.
Well, especially because I remember back in like the late 90s, early 2000s, if you thought of a good anime, you always remember that Bandai logo right before it.
Yep, that emotion thing.
Yeah, all that business.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's all I got. I haven't seen the show. I can't say anything about it. I guess you should listen to Dave and Joel if you want to hear about that show.
Oh, why can't I find... Oh, right, Code Geass was the show that I always got...
I've heard that was pretty bad.
Yeah, Code Geass is the new clamp robot show, and Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann is the Gynax robot show. And I think I did watch the first episode of Code Geass, even though I completely forget it entirely.
Why?
I don't... Because it was a new show. I watched, the one episode.
Yeah, I guess.
But... because I had the shows confused for so long, I think I put off the Lagann thinking it was the other one, and now I've got it sorted out.
Wait a minute.
Just now, as I'm recording the show, I sorted it out.
Wait a minute. So you watched a show that you thought was Lagann but wasn't, and then when you saw Lagann, you assumed that it was the show you'd already watched?
No, that's not true. What had happened is I saw a show, Kogias Le Luch de Rebellion, right? Later, I saw that there was a robot show called Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann, and I had thought that, I'm like, oh, I seen that show when I hadn't seen it. I thought that, because the names, even though the names aren't similar.
At all,
they're sort of complex, kind of crazy names for robot shows. There aren't too many robot shows, so I thought they were the same show, I was confused. But now,
it's not like Great
as
Fist
I'm
Kaiser.
recording this, my confusion has been cleared. And now I will be swiftly corrected in possibly in the coming weeks watching of Gurren Lagann, at least some episodes.
All right, so obviously because you were complaining about the lack of news, you don't have a news. So what do you got?
I don't
here?
have news for
What
shit.
do you got?
I got a geek bite. God damn it.
You're bad at this.
I'm real bad. I got a geek bite, right? So I go and I try to look at what comics I've read recently, try to pick something out there. And I was looking and nothing really felt like a real strong geek bite candidate until I saw Orion.
Now, did you read all of Orion?
What's the definition of read?
Because I'll admit, there are certain moments where a Shiro-tasm will kind of overcome me, and I'll realize that I've been flipping pages for like 5 pages, looking at pictures
in the back
and kind of glossing over words.
In the back of the book, there's a dictionary and author's notes, which would probably be very helpful if I read it, but I did not read that.
Wait, so at least he made a dictionary and author's notes, not like the other Ghost in the Shell manga where the ramblings were just kind of all over the pages.
Right, so Masamune Shiro Masamune, the guy who did Ghost in the Shell, right? That guy, the guy, sort of famous manga guy, right? This is one of his manga. It's all in one book from Dark Horse. It's $18. I didn't pay $18, thankfully. And I gotta say this about Shiro, right?
He is Shiro-tastic.
Well, Ghost in the Shell is awesome. Super awesome, right? And for some reason, I keep buying all of his other works. I buy the Appleseed. I buy the Tank Police. I buy the Orion.
Tank Police is awesome.
Tank Police is awesome.
Appleseed, pretty hot.
Right. Appleseed's okay.
Well, the Appleseed movie was really good.
Yeah. And I buy all his manga. Thing is, most of his manga are kind of just crazy and don't make sense and aren't really that good.
Now, we're not talking on the Trigun level. It's no Naito.
No, it's definitely not on the Trigun level of not making sense.
I mean, I guess there's two kinds of not making sense in a manga. There's the Naito Trigun of you flip pages and wonder if pages were missing and can't tell what characters are involved in a scene.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the Shiro where there'll be a picture of a tank and this vomit of words around the tank on the page. And some of the words are talking about how he didn't draw the blah, blah, blah on the tank because he didn't think it would look good, but he knows they have to be there. And then the rest of it is complaining about like some military political issue in Japan in the future, but not in the future of the manga you're reading, just at some other year. And it has nothing to do with the comic at all.
Here, so Orion. Basically, the deal with Orion is this. Instead of, Shiro usually likes to go off about science and technology and all
About
that.
something.
Yeah, or military stuff, right? Or something like that, right? In Orion, he basically makes up this universe where it's all like supernatural fantasy of gods and demons and snakes and monsters and
Wait. Gods, demons, monsters.
evil witches and magic. And,
Okay, gods, demons, monsters, evil witches, magic, snakes.
Yeah, snakes.
Snakes aren't that special in and of themselves.
Well, no,
I don't
like
think they're
big,
on
big magical sort of dread. They keep talking about like nagas and things and,
the... Okay.
this sort of crazy stuff.
Not just, I picture like a wizard and a dragon and a Godzilla and then a snake.
Now, this is a semi-Watchmen spoiler, but there are scenes reminiscent of the ending of Watchmen in here. But yeah, it's basically... It's just really fucked up and he can't tell what's going on. It's like he's just making up like this fantasy shit as he goes along. And there's a few cute parts, I guess, where like someone gets randomly like this one scene where you see the girl talking to like these cute aliens. They're sort of octopus-ish, right? And the next scene, like she turns someone into one of the cute aliens, and it's like hee 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 hee. And that's about the only redeeming thing I can say about this, because it makes pretty much no sense whatsoever. I mean,
I'm guessing that this is it makes more sense than Naito's Trigun, but it makes less sense than the second Ghost in the Shell manga.
Here, I'm going to tell you everything that I know about the plot. You ready?
Now remember, this is from someone who read this.
Yes, I read the whole thing. If you count that as read. Okay, some girl is pretty magical, and she's like a spaceship pilot, and it starts off like it's going to be interesting, but then they forget all about the spaceship piloting, right? She's a member of some like group family of witches and whatnot. And there's some other families of witches that are different, and there's an emperor of some sorts, and, you know, there's like a kingdom or something. And then, like, this demon guy comes out, and there's going to be some sort of apocalypse or something, maybe, and, you know, people are trying to, like, set up these crazy magic spells that are going to make good or bad things happen, or, like, all the evil in the world or all the good in the world is going to come spilling in or out in some direction or something, and there's all kinds of made-up words all over the place, and...
Now, is this proper noun gobbledygook or just Shiro-tasm?
Okay, you ready? I'm gonna read some random speech bubbles. You ready? Okay, Naga system, I'm ready. Once you activate, I'll fry you with an octo-trigram.
That makes perfect sense.
It's an Aqua Loco type with a twisted Hydro element, an incredibly powerful Vajra Naga force on this planet. In 64 harmonics, it'll reach threshold and everything will disintegrate.
All right, I feel really bad now. You want to know why?
Why?
When I read Ghost in the Shell, he would say it's the same. It's like Jabberwocky, where all the structure makes sense, but the words don't mean anything. But in Ghost in the Shell, when you read some of those words, you think your brain says, "Oh, that was some sciencey technical thing, and I understand it." And you know what? Your brain's just lying to you because it makes no more sense than what that just sounded like. That just used more fake words.
Okay, I'm going to read 4 bubbles. It's a dialogue between 2 characters. Character A, then character B, then character A, then character B again, right? And that's all. That's how I'm going to end this little geek bite. Okay, ready? Character A, he's a demon guy who was summoned. Perhaps in another 200 psychs or so, we'll see a sorcerer's shell created that can truly discriminate between good and evil. Character B. And when that time comes, human spirits filled with good shall become deities. Ape spirits shall assume human form, and human spirits tainted with bad karma shall remain human. Asterisk. There is a Buddha nature for each level of the soul. There are infinite levels of the soul and infinite numbers of corresponding Buddha natures. The spiritual hierarchy further subdivides the levels existing between apes, men, and gods. The physical body is only a manifestation of the spirit. Character A again. The human form is not the human soul. Its eyes merely see what is transient. Its ears do not hear the voice of the true spirit. Its words do not state the truth. And its mind is ruled by karma. Character B. If psychoscience can weaken the barriers to the physical form, words, and mind, it may become a legitimate method of reaching the truth. It's just a bunch of made-up talk that's really complicated and makes no sense. And I'm picking random pages, people. Random pages. I did not prepare this at all. I opened the book and flipped around looking for speech bubbles with lots of words, and they were not hard to find. Don't buy this unless you really hate yourself.
You could have a contest and give it to someone.
No, I want to keep it so I have the whole Shiro collection.
What are you going to do with that?
Give the whole thing to somebody.
Wow. On the condition, it's kind of like those clauses in some sort of Don Knotts movie where you can have the mansion and the fortune if you spend the night in the haunted house.
Good one.
You can have Shiro's manga if you read it.
Dun dun.
It's Gendao.
Oh, God.
It's things of the day. I'm sure many of you have seen this, but I'm also sure, just judging from conversations I've had with our listeners in the past, that many of you are not familiar with this. Now, you're an anime con today, and there's always the kind of fan parodies.
Well,
but
actually, a lot of anime cons don't have them. It's sort of, you know, it was a lot more popular, I think, like a few years ago, like maybe 1 or 2, and it's faded a little bit. but it was pretty big for a time.
Well, I guess the really big cons always have them in some capacity. And even though actually a lot of the kinds of things that used to be fan parodies are now just in anime music videos straight up, or kind of put into that realm. But
Yep.
long time ago, I think it was called like Otaku's, This is Otakudom or something like
Yes,
that.
that was it. I was going to ask what the name of that thing was. We rented it from the Anime Club library on VHS and watched it as a group.
Yeah, this was one of the earlier known to American fans fan parodies.
Well, it was one of the more widely distributed early fan parodies.
Well, yeah, has it
that
known to,
we
like,
were able to
average
get our
fans.
hands on
Because
in like 2000, 2001 times.
yeah, but most people hadn't seen anything like that before, and then this kind of made the rounds, and then there was this surge for a couple of years of everyone going, "Oh my god, fan parodies!"
I remember we watched This Is Otakudom as like a group, and for some reason it was hilarious.
it was utterly hilarious.
But in reality, looking
I watched
back,
it again a
not-
couple of years ago.
lame,
So
so lame.
I wanted to have, because I've seen in my life a grand total of 3 fan parodies. I've
seen 1.5.
This is Otakudom, which is, what it is. It kind of started it. Funny to watch in a group if you're not into anime enough to know a lot about it, and you're not, because remember,
If
this
you're
was-
sort of like a young, naive punk kid with a bunch of naive punk kid friends, like a high school anime club or freshman in a college anime club, this will freaking knock your socks off.
But remember, this is from an era before YouTube, back when anime hell and things like that worked a lot better. Nowadays, you've seen things like this already times 1,000.
Yep.
But the other 2 that I've seen and that made a big splash back in the day were Escaflowne.
I didn't see that one.
It's not online. I can't find it easily. I didn't look for a torrent or anything, but they kind of screen it at cons.
Is
and
that
that's
anything
it.
like Nescafe?
No.
No.
Alan. Anyway, I wanted to have a link to that because I wanted to make that my thing of the day since we're talking about Tenku no Escaflowne tonight, but couldn't find it. So I went with the third, the classic, Redeath.
Ah, Redeath.
Now,
Perhaps the most widely famed of the fan parodies.
This is another one of those things where if you saw Redeath at a convention a long time ago and have fond memories of it, don't watch my thing of the day. All you're going to do is go, wow, that was stupid. Wow, that wasn't funny at all, except for the Gendo part.
Yeah, pretty much the only good part is the It's Genda.
But I don't know, there was something about watching this with a whole group of people at a convention, and the fact that it was so poorly done. I mean, the voice acting is super bad. Half the time, you can't even tell what people are saying. Misato is called in. They phoned in the role, as in literally, the woman playing Misato called them and they recorded it.
Yep.
It's awful in every regard, but at the same time, this is a piece of anime history, and I think that
it's a U.S. anime fandom history, not anime history. Anime history would be like, Miyazaki's Notebook.
See, no, I think it's a piece of anime history. This is what was spawned in America. This is the result, Japan. This is what you caused.
Okay.
It's actually kind of funny. There is the nice one bit at the end that I actually really like, where they kind of point out the stupidity of the end of the show, Escaflowne, where they're like, so...
You mean
Kaji.
Evangelion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said Escaflowne, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
They're like, so you gave him the thing. He's like, yeah, you gave him the thing. Oh, shit. And that's all I got.
Yeah.
You watch and see. If you've never seen this
If
before...
you've never seen Evangelion, though, and you watch Redeath, it does kind of spoil it.
Yeah, but insofar as, you know what? Everybody dies in Escaflowne. Everybody.
Evangelion.
Yeah.
Yeah, stop saying Escaflowne when you mean Evangelion.
Everybody dies in both.
Redeath is an Evangelion fan parody.
Yes, as opposed to Nescaflowne, which if anyone can find an online copy and send it my way, I would be very happy.
I'm sure some links to Nescaflowne are coming to us as soon as you push the upload button.
I'm sure Nescaflowne is as bad as Redeath was remembered to be.
I'm sure, but I remember there was a time, though, where I had already realized the fan parodies were lame. And you were all like, oh man, I'm going to watch the fan parodies. They're so awesome.
Fan parodies can be awesome. There have been some super awesome ones since then. The thing is, it's hard to find the good ones.
I just remember that one Otakon where like you were super hyped to go to the fan parodies. And I was like, hell no.
See, I was super hyped. And the only reason I didn't go was I was going to go and then I got hungry. And I realized that if I didn't eat right then, there was no way I would have eaten before the concert. So I totally didn't go to the fan parodies because food at that mall across the street is very important.
It is indeed. Oh, I got to do a thing of the day, right?
Oh, I guess you do.
Oh, okay. So check this out. Here's the thing of the day that I cannot vouch for the quality of.
Oh, great. We had some stellar things of the day tonight.
Yeah, this is a webcomic, right, that I have not read. I don't know if it's good.
Why are you linking to it?
I don't know if it's bad because I was really desperate for a thing of the day. And
I got like 4, actually, between Emily and Ido, I've learned about 3 or 4 new comics, some of them webcomics, that I really got to read.
Well, no, but there is evidence.
One's about Vikings.
Yes, there is evidence, though, to suggest that this webcomic is worth talking about. First of all, the webcomic, right, the art is by Paul Duffield, who, if you look at this art, it's pretty high quality arts. He's very good with the colors.
Should I have recognized that name?
No.
Okay.
The name you should recognize is the writer of this weekly webcomic, Warren Ellis.
I don't know who that is.
He is the famous writer of non-web comics, such as Transmetropolitan.
I didn't like that at all.
I don't care if you liked it. The point is that
I gained no enjoyment from it. I remember when Steve had it. We were at the shore, and he brought all this Transmetropolitan. And he's like, "Yeah, this is like a great comic." And I remember I read like all of it, and it's just oh my god, I didn't like it at all. It was just awful.
He also wrote that Fell comic. Did you read that one yet?
Nah.
No, and he also wrote Planetary. He's written a lot of comics, but though Fell, I think, is my favorite comic by him. It is definitely the awesome. We're going to talk about that soon because I had the first volume, and the second volume I think is pending pretty quickly.
I'll try to read it.
Yeah, it's an awesome detective thing. Emily liked it. She thought it was awesome.
I imagine I'll really like it. I've been watching a lot of anime lately.
So Warren Ellis is a famous comic writer, right? Whether you like his stuff or not. I mean, you don't have to like his stuff. It's not like, say, Alan Moore, where you have to like his stuff. And he making a webcomic that's free and weekly, and it's called Freak Angels, freakangels.com. There's 11 episodes, and each episode is 6 pages, and you can just go to the first episode and start reading, and it shouldn't take you that long. I mean, they're on episode 11, so what, 66 pages to catch up? That shouldn't take you that long to read 66 pages of comics. That's like 3 flimsy comic books worth, right? So they've already got 1 trade. Shouldn't take more than an hour to read through this, even if you're slow. So, free comic by a real, high quality, professional comic writer. That's thing of the day worthy, I say.
But you haven't read it.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, what if it's bad?
I'm sorry.
Let's see. We talked about Orion.
Yeah.
And then we talked about Re-Death.
Yep.
And now that.
Yep.
Well, I think we got to balance that out. So
we don't know. We don't know. You're assuming this is bad. It could be good.
I'm not assuming anything. I'm taking an agnostic and unknowing position.
But you associated it with Orion and Re-Death.
I'm just saying that there was a trend, and the trend might continue. It might be a slippery
I don't see a trend.
Argument.
The trend is no, it's bad. No, it's bad. Who knows?
Well,
that's not
I think
a pattern.
The trend was
that's not a pattern unless we then talk about 2 more things that are bad and then 1 more thing that is questionable. Then it would be a pattern of bad, questionable, bad, questionable, repeat.
Anyway, tonight, regardless, we're going to talk about one of those kind of big shows. But luckily, because it's a big show, we can't really talk about it in any super deep detail, partly because Scott hasn't watched it in a long time. And
I've only watched the entire show once, and that was like more than 5 years ago.
I'll say this. This is a show that
was in 2002, I believe.
I have seen all the way through 4 times and then some.
I've seen all the way through once.
It's a show.
I've seen the movie twice, and I've seen the first 4 episodes twice. That includes the time that I saw the whole thing through
once. It's a show where, despite having seen it 4 and some times, I cried at the end every time. And when I say I cry, because I cry at a lot of anime, but usually it's like...
Weeper.
It's like... Scott did just finish the Prince of Nothing trilogy, by the way.
I'm making all sorts of Prince of Nothing jokes now, bitches.
Yeah, you're a little late to the... You know what you're like now, though? You're like those people who played Portal like yesterday, and they come to the party and they're like, ha, the cake is a lie. And we're all like, ha, yeah.
Yeah,
right.
But you know what? The difference is that I'm much more clever, and thus I'm making the jokes that no one else makes.
We made the Weeper joke.
No, you did.
Yes, we did.
No, you did.
Yes, we did.
No. I'm gonna have to go digging for some deeper jokes then, because the Prince of Nothing is a minefield of jokes.
Oh my God, it is.
It is a.
No, it is not a comedy. It is that there is so much in there. It's the kind of thing where you can reference it with other people in very clever ways.
The Prince of, this is sort of a bad and poor taste, but I'm going to compare it to Cambodia in terms of its humor value.
It's kind of true.
And in terms of the, minefields, you get it? Yeah, okay.
That's
I knew that
awful.
was in poor taste, but
I was thinking more in terms of it is not a pleasant fantasy world.
no, it is not.
Neither is Cambodia.
No, Cambodia. I think Cambodia is worse.
Well, it was at least.
Well,
All right, anyway,
it's still pretty bad.
Anime. So tonight we're talking about this show. Now, like I was saying,
Escaflowne, which is nothing like Cambodia.
Tengen no Escaflowne.
Vision of Escaflowne.
Is, in my opinion, now we talk about must-see anime and we talk about good anime and bad anime, but if there are, say, 3 or 4 or 5 like greatest anime, like
TV series.
Well, yeah, movies we can't really count. That's this whole separate.
Because then when you start movies, you're like, okay, every Mamoru Oshii movie, every Miyazaki movie,
Satoshi Kon.
every Satoshi Kon movie, every you start going off, and then you're in a mess. But when you're talking about TV shows, at least the TV shows that aren't 5 zillion episodes.
And I know a lot of people hate, making like a top 10 or a top 5 list, but
Escaflowne is on every one of those lists. It's got to be.
What I would pretty much say, the way I would put it, is that we kind of classify anime into A, B, and C anime. A anime is anime that leaves you with something. I mean, examples of A anime are Cowboy Bebop, Trigun, like the big hitters, the amazing shows, Gundam Seed, Not Destiny.
The cleanup batters, the star quarterbacks in the Super Bowl.
And then there's B anime, which are like, I don't know, Scrat Princess, Gankutsuo. They're good, they're fun, they're really worth watching, but they're not like special. They're
not like
out.
the all-time amazing greats,
Yeah, and C anime are like, Initial D and all those things that we like anyway, but
and then F anime are like I don't know, Gurren Lagann. Ooh, no.
Oh.
I haven't watched it. I can't say
Yeah,
that.
we can't say.
I just tried to say something that would incite people going, ooh.
Daryl Surratt for a second was about to call GoGo 13.
Yeah, I know, right?
He picked up the phone and then you said just kidding. He hesitated for a minute, much like
Speaking of GoGo 13.
Wow, so much for Escaflowne.
Okay, so Escaflowne, right? The thing about Escaflowne that makes it such an A anime, right? Is that first of all, you got a fantasy anime. Pretty rare to have a fantasy anime that's not just like a joke, right?
I mean, what serious fantasy anime do we have? Slayers edges into serious territory a couple of times.
Right.
There's 12 Kingdoms.
Yeah, I guess. 2, it's a robot anime. They're mad robots in Escaflowne, but it's not in the genre of robot show, but it has the robots, and they're cool.
It's got pretty boys and cat girls.
I guess that's
It does.
Well, it does, yeah. And the thing that's really defines Escaflowne, the way I sum it up in my mind, is that somehow they take stereotypes of anime. Come on, schoolgirl in high school transported to a fantasy world
where there's a bunch of pretty boys
where
she
there's
likes.
a bunch of pretty boys
And cat people.
and a
and,
magical war, and she falls in love
And
and blah,
she's
blah,
the
blah.
hero, kind of. But
Is that not the most by the book story you've ever heard? I don't know what is in terms of anime, right?
But yet
They pull it off, and you don't even realize how cliche it is, because every cliche is done with the finesse and the polish that makes it feel original and new and amazing.
it's one of those shows, one of those rare shows where a lot of things try to be epic. And there's different ways to look at epic. I mean, you could look at kind of all the Leiji Matsumoto works and say those as a whole are this epic thing. But watching a show, the way from where Escaflowne starts until where it gets about halfway through, and then to where it gets by the end, it is epic in every sense of the word.
Oh, absolutely.
The plot is one of those epic but not forced, and it's
a lot of the
really-
plot you can see coming, but a lot of it, no way you're gonna see it coming. Not at all. Not even close.
So Escaflowne. Just if you stop listening to Geeknights right now tonight because you got other things to do, and you have not seen Tengen no Escaflowne, it is your duty to buy it and watch it. This is one of the greatest animated series ever.
Yeah, it's really cheap too. I mean, you can probably get all 26 episodes of it in one box right, in the bricks, and it shouldn't cost you more than $50.
I paid $23 for it
Wow.
at Best Buy.
Wow, 26 episodes for $23. Less than $1 an episode for an entire anime series, one of the best ever on DVD. I'm looking it up on Amazon right now.
All right, but there's a lot of interesting kind of side stuff about Escaflowne before we kind of get into what it's about and why it's so great.
I already talked about what it's about.
Yeah, but we can talk about that in a little more detail. Well, it's funny how whenever we do a show about a show we like, which isn't that often, we kind of gush.
Yeah, whatever.
Like remember when Order was talking about...
You could walk up to Rim, like, randomly and just say, Escaflowne.
I might start crying.
He'll just, like, gush onto the floor. Not so much. All right, on Amazon, right, I see Escaflowne Anime Legends Complete Collection, $45.
That is worth every penny.
That is totally worth it.
I paid $28 for the first VHS tape of Escaflowne.
Yeah, I see 43 used and new from $26. So you can get a used set, $26.
So Escaflowne is actually kind of old. It's more than a decade old. This came out in 1996.
Oh, God. It looks like a late 90s, early 2000 anime.
Yeah.
You know.
But at the same time, it was a very high budget kind of, we're putting all the right things together. It was one of those shows where you looked at it and you knew, wow, all the right people are behind it. All the money's there. This is going to be one of those gigantic shows. The same way you'd look at Cowboy Bebop when it was originally kind of being put out. And much like all these great shows back in that era, it had a lot of trouble. It was almost not made, like a bunch of times. It sat on the shelf for like 4 years. They lost the first director, which actually, I'm not going to tell the whole story, but to sum it up briefly, someone was going to direct Escaflowne. That person was, for various reasons, not included in the project by the end.
They were sacked
by
a moose.
It's actually kind of complicated, but instead of the original director and the original concept, someone by the name of Kazuki Akane became the director and made changes to Escaflowne to the point that it went from a super run-of-the-mill garbage show into one of the greatest anime ever. And I attribute that largely to the changes that were made. If you want to see what Escaflowne would have likely been like otherwise, there are three, but you probably haven't seen the third one. There are 2 manga.
Yeah, that's the thing about Escaflowne. It has 2 manga, which is confusing.
One is a shoujo manga and one is a shonen manga, but
they both suck.
They're utter crap.
The shoujo's a little better than the shonen, but that's like saying it smells better than poop.
Like, don't even be tempted to flip through the Escaflowne manga. This is some bad manga.
They're terrible. Not worth a penny.
But this show, just like Evangelion, was originally going to be 39 episodes. This is back when shows were always 26 episodes, and this show was going to be, 3 half seasons, 39 episodes.
And unlike Utena, instead of stretching out their budget with lots of stock footage and bad animation techniques,
which I think worked to Utena's benefit.
Yeah, as well, but they wouldn't have worked to Escaflowne's benefit, that's for sure.
But Escaflowne and Evangelion were both originally going to be 39 episodes, and due to cuts, they had to cut them short to 26 episodes. And Escaflowne, unlike Evangelion, did this by not cutting out anything.
You really can't tell that the show was supposed to be 39 episodes.
If anything, actually.
I mean, like, you watch, say, the original Macross TV series, right, where they tacked on extra episodes at the end, and you can totally tell the point at which the original ends, and then they begin the tacked on episodes. In this, they cut episodes out, but you can't tell. It's like it looks like they wrote the whole thing from the beginning, knowing it was going to be 26.
Instead of cutting plot out or changing things to make it end in 26, all they did was kind of tighten it up and save time wherever they could by kind of making the story progress faster.
And that was good.
And as a result, actually, I think one of the greatest strengths of Escaflowne, one of those subtle things, is that the show starts and it throws you into it, and then it kind of progresses at a steady pace. But the rate of progression is accelerating throughout the show. So you get through, say, 1 plot unit in the first episode, and 1 plot unit in the second episode, and 1.1 plot units in the third episode, and 1.4 plot units in the fourth episode. And the show kind of builds up the pace and builds up the pace, and the epicness is going up and the pace is going up, and filler scenes and atmospheric shots are cutting down. And the last 5 or 6 episodes are this like bullet train to destiny.
Mm-hmm.
Like the show is just at this breakneck pace and things are happening just it's bam, 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 bam. And then it stops and it's over and it's amazing.
The worst part of Escaflowne is there's so many cliffhangers, often at the end of DVDs or VHS tapes, and they are like the most grueling possible cliffhangers you can imagine. Like, we're talking characters you love on the brink of death, major climaxes in the plot just like left ambiguous.
This show really strings you along.
It strings you along so badly.
It's kind of like, in that regard, it's almost like those old Hardy Boys novels, the kind of Hardy Boys, the New Year's, but unlike those, it's not terrible. Like, the worst example, if you were watching Escaflowne and you're watching the second to last DVD or tape or whatever you got, and you see the 5th to last episode, make sure you've got the next episode handy.
Because
that's the worst cliffhanger in any show I've ever seen.
It's really terrible. Are we talking about the same one?
I think we are. The one where actually when we were
where all you see is a robot and something's coming out of it?
Oh, no. There's one worse than that.
I think that's the worst one.
That one was like the second worst cliffhanger ever. I think the one near the end where me and Ken got stuck in the elevator.
Yeah.
Coming back with the tape.
I think the one with the robot and the stuff coming out of it is the worst one.
I don't even want to say anything about what either of these cliffhangers are.
I just found a clever way to say it without spoiling it.
Are you going to say it?
A robot with stuff coming out of it.
Oh, I thought you had some other clever way.
No, that was my clever way.
That kind of works.
Yeah.
There's no way to cleverly refer to mine other than
to just blurt it out.
Man,
yeah, this is an easily spoiled show. That is a problem with it.
Well, it's easily spoiled in one regard, but at the same time,
a lot of things are kind of obvious to anyone who's actually seen the show. So.
Well, it's one of those, yeah, you could spoil it, but spoilers don't mean much out of context. Like, the journey is a lot more important than what happened.
Yeah. Yeah, another thing about Escaflowne is that the characters are pretty awesome.
They're solid. There are a lot of main characters. They're all completely...
The thing is like, I do, it doesn't have the problem of a lot of other animes where the main characters suck and the side characters are cool, but I do think that the side characters are cooler than the main characters.
Well, it depends, because...
The thing is, they're not really that far off to the side. They're pretty close. They're just, they're not the main two characters.
Yeah, well, they're also all really three-dimensional, and it starts out like the show looks a little stereotypical. I mean, Alan Shazar is the pretty boy, and he's so cool, and you're going to think he's so cool. But then...
Well, you think he's so cool.
Of course I think he's so cool, because he's the man.
That's your favorite anime character.
But then as it goes, I mean, God, that's what my AIM name, Shazar 105. It wasn't named after Cliff Shazar from Trigun, that's for sure.
That's for fucking sure.
But, then, as the show progresses, and no, Alan Shazar is a sad, emotionally broken man who's kind of messed up.
Yeah, and then you've got, Dylan Dow. I mean,
Dylan Dow.
People see, crazy characters in anime. Like, you see, the crazy psycho killers, right? Dylan Dow is, the perfect execution of the crazy psycho killer kind of character.
I think the scene the scene I actually rewound when I was watching this the first time. We actually rewound because it was a VHS tape. The scene where he got that scar on his face, he's freaking out about it for the rest of the show.
Yep.
And he's just sitting there with this flask in front of him, and he's scratching this knife against the flask. And the scene is just him sitting there kind of scratching this flask. And then he suddenly freaks out and breaks it all over himself and screams.
Yeah, the show, that's really, I said it before, but Escaflowne is all about taking the cliche, but executing it in a way where it doesn't seem cliche. It's it makes it work every time.
And also, right along those lines, it takes the cliche, and there's kind of this surface, you can enjoy Escaflowne.
Like the cliche of the cat girl, but the cat girl isn't bad. You're not going, oh, cat girl. You're going, oh, okay, cat girl.
And then, when there's the other cat girls.
Yeah. It's cliche, the crazy evil bad guy, but whoa, he's so crazy, and wow, that totally works as a character. And, cliche, schoolgirl brought to a fantasy world, but... Oh, it's done so tastefully and not so shallowly. It is like a truffle.
But in addition to this, a truffle.
A truffle.
But you look at it you can enjoy this show on this surface level, this visceral, yay, let's go, fantasy, epic adventure, this crazy plot. But And a lot of people go, whenever people say things like this. But
Well, no, I mean, if you
no, the thing I'm about to say, not the thing I just said.
Oh.
Escaflowne is one of those shows that's, deep and stuff.
It's kind of deep. It's not super deep, but it's got the depth.
It's got a lot more depth than you'd realize, especially when you kind of find out what was going on. And, a lot of shows have
It's a pool. If it was a pool, it would be deep enough for a high jump, but not deep enough for an Olympic high jump.
Well, I'll put it this way. It's not deep in the Big O2 way, where they beat you over the head with,
not deep
existentialist philosophy.
It's not deep in the Orion way.
It's not deep in the Ghost in the Shell, social phenomenon and what is the nature of
It's just the right
way.
depth where you stand on your tippy toes, and you keep your nose out of the water.
Well, no, what's great about the show is that it doesn't just have kind of one overarching moral. I mean, you can sum Evangelion, despite all its existentialist...
And Trigun as well.
Yes, Trigun is just kind of considering the idea of pacifism, and everything in the show is really just kind of around this one idea. And Evangelion is kind of just around the idea of what are humans and how do we interact with each other and ourselves. Escaflowne has like 9 of those issues, and it treats them all equally.
Well, because each character, like, there's side plots. It's sort of like, I really related a lot to Final Fantasy VI, where you have like a fantasy world, a big epic kind of journey. You can actually match up a lot of the characters with Final Fantasy VI characters as being kind of similar, And
oh man, you said that, and I thought, but who would match up with Locke? Then I was like, or Edward. And I was like, duh, Dryden for both of them. Dryden's one of my favorites.
I don't know. I think Edward and Alan Shazar go together there.
Yeah, they kind of do.
Yeah.
But I really like Dryden when he's got that mermaid.
Yeah, right. But yeah, you got Kefka for Dylan Dow, and it's like it totally works. But
wow, I think Dylan Dow out crazies Kefka though. The only thing Kefka
it's a tough
does
call.
that Dylan
It's a tough call.
is that Kefka murders a lot more people than Dylan Dow.
I can guarantee, though, if you like Final Fantasy VI, you like Escaflowne, and vice versa.
In fact, if you're one of those people who always wish that Final Fantasy VI were an anime, just watch Escaflowne.
Pretty much.
It's better than that could ever be.
Yeah, I guess. Because it doesn't have the random encounters. It doesn't take as long.
If you're going to make a Final Fantasy movie, I think the random encounter is the first thing to go.
All right, so... But yeah, it's really... It's that kind of thing where even though there is a big major plot, like all the characters have their plots and each of their plots is sort of separate. So it's like as you go through, it's like not only are you trying to figure out the big picture, but there's the thread of each the main characters and what their deal is, and all their deals come to a head, and then the big thing comes to a head, and then it's over.
And the show doesn't kind of take anything for granted. Like there's the world, but the world is super, super, super fleshed out. And all the politics and all the people and all the races and all those things are all there and all strong in the background, the foreground, wherever they matter. And it's super consistent with itself. And as a result, it's got the cliche of the girl who comes from the other world has some magical powers. But they don't just leave it at that like a lot of shows do.
She's an Esper.
She's an Esper.
Esper.
But seriously, the show gets into some dark territory in regards to why does Hitomi have these powers? What are those powers doing? How are they affecting everything as we've been following this show?
Yep.
How much can she really control them? The show really, really, really is good, and that's all we can really say, and we just keep saying that over and over again.
Now, there is an Escaflowne movie. The movie has some of the same characters as the show. A lot of the same characters, but different character designs, actually.
Like, the movie is basically take, like, every character from the show and pick, like, one element of their personality, make that the entire character, and then it's like everyone is a deep caricature of a character from the show.
And then take sort of the same universe, but like a different world. Like, it's like it's the same, but it's different. And they just sort of tell a story with those characters in 90 minutes or so.
It's kind of like it takes one of the themes of Escaflowne and just addresses that. Like it distills everything to one of its core essences.
Yeah, you could watch the movie and it won't spoil shit about the real show and vice versa. They really have not much to do with each other besides the characters.
The movie also was one of those super high budget, super pretty, and you know what?
It's pretty pretty, yeah.
It's a good movie. It's okay. Just if you don't go into it expecting
you don't need to see it, but
TV show.
If you want to watch it.
Just don't watch one and expect it to be the other one because they're both good.
Yeah,
in
if
their
you
own right.
expect the movie to be like the TV show, you're going to be disappointed.
Plus, don't forget, the Escaflowne movie was one of the first widely distributed digital fan subs.
Yep, it sure was.
Wow, this was a long time ago, all of this.
Yeah, it was.
But the story of Escaflowne, actually, it's just that there's this girl. Her name's Hitomi. She's a normal, average girl, but she's not an average, boring girl. She's an average, quirky, kind of realistic girl.
Yeah, and she's in high school, and she does track, and she has friends who are cool.
Yeah, she actually has friends. It's not like the stereotypical, I don't have any friends, blah. And, then
And
I'm
the friends
transported
are
to the
sort of
magical
normal,
world.
and they sort of have these real high school problems, and she likes this boy, and there's another boy, I think, that doesn't really get talked about so much, and... Yeah.
Well, there's Amano senpai.
Right. That's the guy that she likes.
Yes. But one thing leads to another, and she gets transported to this world, but it's not like it's out of the blue. It's, I can't spoil anything.
They slowly lean into it. Like, as a watcher, as a viewer of the anime, you kind of see that something's coming, and you kind of know because it's a meta thing, right?
You know what?
But they totally lean into it, and it feels really natural and not just like, poof, we're in another world like
That's
El
what
Hazard.
makes this show kind of stand out from
Like
a
if
lot
El
of...
Hazard is the wow, we're just transported to a different world suddenly. This is the this is the right way to
But
do that.
even El Hazard has a whole bunch of school buildup.
It does.
It has that one of my favorite comedy scenes in any show ever, where Jinai is in the hallway freaking out as he looks at all the different bulletin board pictures.
Yeah, this is one thing that amazes me about Escaflowne is how the high school aspect of Escaflowne comes on so strong, yet the amount of screen time it gets is so small.
But yet,
like,
it's
you
not...
barely see the school, but the school is so powerfully in the show.
Well, the school also comes back. This isn't really a spoiler so much because it kind of illustrates an interesting... The show, there's a point at which things are going on and Hitomi's trying to hide somewhere and her pager goes off.
It's totally a Hoshi no Koe thing.
Her pager goes off. And
in the fantasy world.
because she's got her bag with her. She's got CDs and all these things just with her. But it goes off. And it causes all this trouble. And you forget about it going off because whatever, it went off and all this action happens. And then at the end of the episode, she's like, they've relaxed and they're safe. And she just kind of looks at the pager and then she sees the phone number on it. And then it cuts to the real world again, Earth. And there's Amano. And he was just calling the pager. And he's in a phone booth and that's it.
Yeah. And the thing is, Hitomi is wearing her school uniform still, while everyone else is like, knights and wizards and elves and shit. So it's like, that's like her character design. So it totally makes sense. But it's it always and she's always carrying her bag of stuff from high school because it was transported to this world with her and she's wearing sneakers, So it's like, it's always tied back to this school, despite that the school gets almost no screen time.
And it's not just a convenience or whatever. It actually kind of matters to the plot and to the moral.
It matters a lot. It is the plot.
Now, but what I was about to say before was that part of what makes this show stand out in terms of, you said the opening is kind of natural. Like it draws you into the world, and a lot of modern shows seem to just, like, people have an idea, like, we're going to make a show about blah, and they introduce blah as quickly as possible, and they wrap a little mystery around it to try to dangle you along. This show develops so much more naturally than a lot of these shows. I feel like modern anime seem to often forget that you have to have a strong come on in the beginning, but they come on too strong in the beginning, and in the end, it makes a weaker come on.
Or they come on too weak in the beginning because they don't want to reveal too much.
I think the first episode of this show is one of the not the best, but definitely one of the better introductions to a complex world and a complex show.
I think the reason it works so well is because they come on strong with the school. They bring you on everything about the school, and then the fantasy world, and you got nothing. So they got the mystery is all in the fantasy world, but they were able to lure you in with the really strong school revealing everything.
It really lets you identify with Hitomi a lot more because now you kind of got used to the school. You were grounded in this kind of, here's the world of the show, and now you're transported along with her to this other world. And I also point out that in this other world, Earth is in the sky like a moon, and you see it, and they know she's from there, and they call it the Cursed World.
Do they call it the cursed world?
They call it the cursed moon or the cursed something. I
They
forget
call
exactly.
it something. I forget if it was cursed, but they call it something, and they're like, it's like imagine if someone showed up like in front of your house and you knew that they were from the moon. You'd be like, "You're from the moon." Whoa.
But not just the moon, the cursed moon.
I don't remember if it was cursed.
It is most definitely cursed.
I forget. I can't say either way.
I mean, I don't want to talk about the plot anymore because this is kind of the, like, we're going to talk about the show a couple more times in the far future because, we got to do a final thoughts. We got to do kind of the full review for people who have seen it, all those sorts of things. But I don't feel like I need to talk more about the plot or anything because you need to see this show. This is one of the best anime ever. If you're an anime fan and you haven't seen this show, it's like saying, I haven't seen Cowboy Bebop, I haven't seen Trigun, I haven't seen Star Wars.
Okay, so if you didn't have enough reasons already to go watch Escaflowne, I got 2 more reasons for you. Number 1, Yoko Kanno music.
And also,
Number 2, Nobuteru Yuki character designs. That's the pointy nose guy.
I really like both of those people a lot. And actually,
We're talking like A-list anime,
there's a
creators.
third reason. Maya Sakamoto. You realize this was like her premiere role.
Oh.
Now, I mean, Maya Sakamoto, who is famous now, this was her first real role. She played Hitomi, the lead, and she sang the opening song.
Yep.
Yakusoku wa Aranai, which is actually, I really like that song.
Yeah. The one thing is there is one song, and it's not a bad song. It's actually a really good song, but it's like
Escaflowne, Escaflowne.
Dun, 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 dun. It's a lot like the Excalibur song.
Kaneda.
No, what the song from Excalibur? What the hell's it called?
Well, the thing is, a lot of the music, the music in the
that
show,
one.
is absolutely fantastic. I mean, it's Yoko Kanno, duh, but it's very symphonic. There are leitmotifs.
I would say it's Yoko Kanno's second best anime music. Cowboy Bebop being her best anime music.
Yeah, I would have to agree because I think right up there at number 3 are the openings to the Ghost in the Shells.
Yeah, those are really good too. All right, anything else we got to say?
I don't know. I think that's it. I mean,
buy it, Netflix it. If you're really poor, maybe you can find it somewhere.
If I had to, I'd give a top 5 anime. I wouldn't rank them, but it's easily Cowboy Bebop, Evangelion, Escaflowne, Trigun, and something else.
Yeah, probably. Not counting movies.
Not counting movies.
We're talking about TV shows here.
I cannot express to you how amazing this show is.
It's pretty awesome. It's must see.
This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com, where you'll find show notes, links, our awesome forum, a link to our Frapper map, and links to all the RSS feeds.
We say feeds plural because Geeknights airs 4 nights a week, covering 4 different brands of geekery. Mondays are science and technology. Tuesdays, we have video games, board games, and RPGs. Wednesdays are anime, manga, comic nights. And Thursdays are the catch-alls for various rants and tomfoolery.
You can send us feedback by email to geeknights@frontrowcrew.com. Or you can send audio feedback via Audio. Just click the link that says Send Me an Audio on the right side of our website.
If you like what you hear, you can catch the last 100 episodes in iTunes or in your favorite podcatcher. For the complete archives, visit the website, which has everything.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 2.5 license. This means you can do whatever you want with it as long as you give us credit, don't make money, and share it in kind. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.